So one will get Shraddha, Rati, and Bhakti. That's a little synopsis of what progression in Bhakti. Which progression? There's several different progressions in Bhakti. There's the yoga ladder, there's progressions doing Bhakti in the different modes, there's Kanista, Majjhima, Uttama, but what is this one? Well, that's certainly in there as Bhakti. Oh, Haribol. But also this is Shraddha to Prem. Okay? Just giving 3 though. Instead of giving, what are the steps from Shraddha to Prem? Sadhu Sangha. Okay. So, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav, Prema. Okay, this is just giving 3. Shraddha, Rati, and Bhakti. And of course, Sadhu Sangha is in here. Where is Sadhu Sangha? Yes, Satam Prasanga. Although that's not given as a stage, it's given as the means. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the association of pure devotees, discussions of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. What Sanskrit word here is Prabhupada translating as very pleasing and satisfying? Ritkarna, to the ear and the heart, but pleasing and satisfying, what's the word here? Rasayana. Rasayana. What's a rasayana? Anybody know Ayurveda? Yes? Fun? Oh, yes. Yes, that there are certain foods that are immediately fully digested and produce very little waste, that they go just to nourishing the body. Those sorts of foods are called a rasayana. And there's a number of rasayanas, but one of them is tree-ripened fruit that's grown locally, picked right away, eaten right away. So rasayana is something that gives rasa. Rasa is a liquid, and it's actually any kind of enjoyment or taste, nourishment. So in the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. So generally a rasayana is for the belly, but this rasayana is for the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Purport. The process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional service is described here. The first point is that one must seek the associations of persons who are Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. Now Prabhupada is saying 2 things. They're Krishna conscious and they engage in devotional service. So consciousness means your mentality. Devotional service is what you do. Of course, devotional service, that's from Krishna Anushīlanam, 2 kinds of action. Service means you're doing something externally, and devotion means your mood, your goal in your doing it. Not just service, not just devotion. But here Prabhupada is saying those who are Krishna conscious and those who engage in devotional service, both. Without such association, one cannot make advancement. Simply by theoretical knowledge or study, one cannot make any appreciable advancement. One must give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of devotees, because without the association of devotees, one cannot understand the activities of the Lord. And this is true even materially. You're not going to be able to understand physics without the association of other scientists. You're not going to be able to understand chemistry. If you're just given a microscope and you just look in the microscope, what can you understand? Or also, this is a skill. This is not just knowledge. In education, we talk about knowledge, skills, and values. Right? So devotional service. Service must be a skill. It's not just something theoretical. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati compares it to swimming. You can't just learn to, okay, we're going to have a class on swimming. You have to go in the water. Or cooking. So if Kalangana is going to teach us about how to cook sweets, she has to drag us into the kitchen. Imagine if we're going to have a sweet cooking class and we're just going to have a PowerPoint, you have to go into the kitchen. And so therefore you have to be in the association of expert cooks, or expert swimmers, or expert physicists. You don't just go in the kitchen by yourself. Of course, we used to do that kind of thing in ISKCON. Okay, go do it. How do I do it? I don't know. Just go do it. Go jump in the deep end of the pool. You'll figure it out. So generally one gets trained in the association of other people who have that skill. And just theoretical knowledge, just reading a cookbook, that's not going to help you, just reading a swimming manual. Generally, people are convinced of the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Because they do not associate with devotees, they cannot understand that the absolute truth can be a person and have personal activities. Now, most people have no idea that the absolute truth is a person. Actually, frankly, even after coming to the Hare Krishna movement and chanting Hare Krishna and even taking initiation, sometimes it's very difficult to understand. The absolute truth is really a person. Absolute truth. Absolute truth sounds like an idea, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like a set of mathematical formulas? Or like a table or something? Right? Just absolute, objective truth. So many people ask, why is it that those who describe the absolute truth describe it always a little differently from each other? Even the great acharyas have descriptions that differ a little from each other, don't they? Sometimes in the purports, Prabhupada will say, this acharya says this acharya says this. The descriptions even, there have things in common, certainly. I mean, even among different religious traditions, there's descriptions of the absolute truth have certain common elements. And many people ask, why are the descriptions so different? Well, if we were all to describe this cup, let's say everyone in this room, we were going to have a little English lesson, and everyone in this room was to write a little essay, a descriptive essay. Sorry, folks. Describe this cup. So my guess is that our descriptions would be very similar, especially if we got a chance to measure it. And be very little differences. But if I say, all right, everybody, I want you to describe Malati, Prabhu, then our descriptions would be very different. Because we each have a different relationship with her. Just like each of us have a different relationship with each person we know, isn't it? Can we say we have exactly the same relationship with any two people? If you have two siblings, if you have two sisters or two brothers, do you have exactly the same relationship with each of your sisters? Do you have exactly the same relationship with each of your aunties or each of your friends? No. So one evidence we have, there's many evidences, one evidence we have that the absolute truth is a person is that all the realized and enlightened and perfected beings describe him a little differently. It shows that we're dealing with a person. We're dealing with a person. But people cannot understand this without the association of devotees. This is a very difficult subject matter, and unless one has personal understanding of the absolute truth, there is no meaning to devotion. So this is also very important because so many people in the world, they talk about love of God, but they don't know anything about God. If I say I love you, I have to know you. How can I be devoted to just some idea? We've given this example many times. You know, the girl comes home and says, Mommy, Daddy, I'm in love. Oh, that's wonderful, dear. What's his name? Name. I didn't ask him his name. I don't know. Well, what's he look like? Is he a nice Gujarati Indian boy? No, I don't know. I don't know what his family is. I don't know what he looks like. How old is he? I don't know that either. Where does he live? I don't know. I heard it's a nice place. What does he do? I'm not really sure. So how can there be love? You know? Any normal parents, they'd say, my dear daughter, I don't think you could really be in love. You don't know anything about him. So there's no meaning. Prabhupada says here, unless one has personal understanding of the absolute truth, there's no meaning to devotion. Service or devotion cannot be offered to anything impersonal. Service must be offered to a person. Non-devotees cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other Vedic literature where the activities of the Lord are described. They think that these activities are fictional, manufactured stories, because spiritual life is not explained to them in the proper mood. Here Prabhupada says non-devotees cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness by reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. So why are we going out? Because this class is supposed to be about book distribution. Why are we going out and giving out books? To understand the personal activities of the Lord, one has to seek the association of devotees. And by such association, when one contemplates and tries to understand the transcendental activities of the Lord, the path to liberation is open and he is freed. Can someone tell me why it's effective to distribute these books to non-devotees? It is effective, right? Have we seen it's effective? Yeah. Yes, but why? Because Prabhupada says here it's not going to work. Yes, that's true. But why does it work when you distribute the books? Yes, sir. Oh, and how is that? Yes, because we have Prabhupada's purports. We have Prabhupada's purports. So therefore, when you're reading these books, you are in the association of the devotees. You're not just reading them on your own. Yeah? One who has firm faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes fixed, and his attraction... Now here Prabhupada's talking about this last line. One who has firm faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes fixed, and his attraction for association with the Lord and the devotees increases. That's rati. Association with devotees means association with the Lord. The devotee who makes this association develops the consciousness for rendering service to the Lord, and then, being situated in the transcendental position of devotional service, he gradually becomes perfect. Satam prasangam mama virya sambido bhavanti vitkarna rasayana kataha tajoshanadvat vapavargavartmani shradharatir bhakti anukramishati. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. So first we're going to look at pavarga, the hard struggle for existence. So most of the living entities in this world, unfortunately, are struggling very, very hard for something very meager. They're going to school, they're doing all their exams, they're filling out their papers, they're studying all their books. Right? Such hard work. Who here is in school right now? Anybody here in school? Anybody in school? Who here went to school? Who would like to go back and do it all over again? Right? So it was really austerity. And then what you speak of working? If you're working out in the fields, you're working in the sun and the rain and the mud, and you've got the insects and it doesn't rain, or you're working at a job and then you have to drive through the traffic, 1 hour through the traffic. They say in London now you can go as fast through central London as you used to be able to go in a horse and buggy. So you're in the traffic for hours, and then at work you may have a boss you don't like. I used to have a book called How to Work for a Jerk, and it lists all the different kinds of bosses you can have, and then you have envious coworkers, and you may not like your job. But you think, I may not be able to get another one. Maybe they don't even pay you enough. Then you have to commute back. And then you come home, and your family members, they're out someplace else, so all they do is complaining, and the house is a mess, and dinner isn't even good. For what? For some little pleasure, few minutes of sex, or a piece of pizza. Yeah. Or maybe you get vacation time, and then you get to go to Hawaii. And then you find out there's mosquitoes, or there's jellyfish in the water, or your whole vacation is rained out. Maybe you get a few moments in the turquoise water, and you see the little sea turtles. Right? So struggling hard for what? Little Little. If you think how hard you have to work, how hard you have to work just to maintain a home, and then how much enjoyment you get out of the home. How much time do you even spend in the home? After a while, you don't even notice. We went to the Krishnavanti school yesterday, and I was saying, wow, this building is amazing. Incredible place. They have a temple in the middle, and I think it's probably the most beautiful temple in the Hare Krishna movement. Incredible. All carved marble. And I said that to the teachers. They said, oh yeah, we don't even notice it anymore. So you work so hard to get a nice house, and then you don't even notice anymore how nice your house is. How much time do you have to enjoy it? Most of the time you're just sleeping there. You could be sleeping in a motel. You wouldn't even know the difference. But we're looking for unlimited happiness. We're looking, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says that he says this in his purports to Brahma Samhita, although the jiva is very, very tiny, it has the capacity for unlimited happiness. We're looking for unlimited happiness. How unfortunate to be satisfied with a little tiny bit of very temporary happiness. Very little tiny bit. Piece of pizza, a can of beer, and the cricket match. To be satisfied with that. New clothes, which after a while you become accustomed to. Every living entity by nature is full of unlimited happiness and is meant to be a resident of the spiritual world. Imagine if there's some big party going on. Right? We're having a really big party, a big festival, and we're dancing, and there's wonderful prasadam. And one friend of ours is having a really bad day, and they're just sitting out there on the bench, So you want to bring them in. You want to say, come into the party, isn't it? We don't like to see anybody suffering. You drive on the road, you see there's been some car accident. Naturally you think, what can I do to help? At least you want to call the police or the ambulance, something. That's natural. Or if you hear some child has been lost, parents went camping and the child was lost. Sometimes thousands of people will go look for the child, isn't it? And the people who aren't looking, they're watching on the television. Is the child found? And you don't even know the family. But when the child's found, everybody's, yes! It's natural. We don't want to see anybody suffering. I just got a call 2 days ago from some devotee I don't know. And he was so distressed. He said, my 22-year-old son, he's left the family, he's given up Krishna consciousness. He's just taking intoxication. He's struggling with mental illness, and I can't do anything to help him. And the father was practically, he doesn't even know me. He says, maybe you can help me. I'm thinking, oh, what am I going to do to help him? But I only had like 2 minutes. I was going to a meeting. And I was thinking how Krishna feels. I feel some distress if a friend of mine is unhappy. Don't you all feel some distress? If a friend of yours is unhappy or suffering or sick. How does Krishna feel? We exist for Ananda. And yet we're in this pavarga. There's no need for a struggle. Kalpraviksha laksha brateshu. There's no need to struggle. We belong to a world of desire trees. That's our home. We don't need to struggle to get anything. We don't need to struggle to be happy. We don't need to struggle to get knowledge. That's who we are. We don't have to earn it. It's our natural right. How amazing someone has something as their natural right, and then they try to struggle for it and not even attain it. And it's like foaming at the mouth. Struggling so hard. People are working so hard out in the world. For what? For a little money. For a little status. How long can you keep your status? When life is over, what will you have? If you really have high status, you'll have a couple lines in the newspaper. If you really made it, my father had a whole column in the New York Times. But it was on the obituary page, wasn't on the front page. If you really make it, you'll be on the front page. If you really make it, like, what was it, Michael Jackson, who died recently, then how many people came? I don't know. Tens of thousands of people will come for your memorial service. But you know what? I have a feeling that in 2,000 years nobody will know who he is. I have a funny feeling. In probably 200 years nobody will know who he is. Or if they do, it'll just be a name they have to memorize for an exam. And the people will be hating him. They'll be sitting in school going, who's that guy again? Michael what? What did he do? Rick, come on, help me out here. Right? So that's if you really achieve something in the world, you get to be a name that school children will hate. That's your status. And where's your money? All these things and people working so hard for this, for little bit of pleasure. That you have just fleeting slice of pizza you eat and it's gone. And maybe it doesn't even give you pleasure. Maybe while you're eating the pizza you're worried about your financial investments or something. No. It's not even a guarantee that when you have the sex, when you have the food, when you have the car, that you're always going to enjoy it. Maybe sometimes you'll enjoy it, sometimes you won't. So how unfortunate that a soul that's full of unlimited, expanding pleasure is in such a state. How unfortunate. It'd be like if a good friend of yours committed some crime and was in prison. So therefore, we want to help such people. And how? Mama virya samvido. To hear again, and if somebody's in an unfortunate position, if someone's sitting outside crying when there's a party going on, we start telling them about the party, right? Isn't that what you do? You say, hey, come on. Hey, guess who's leading the kirtan? Wow, so-and-so's leading the kirtan, they're one of the best kirtan leaders. And there's 150 devotees in the temple room, everybody's dancing, right? Isn't that what you do? Or you say, and they're going to be showing a special drama. Just like I was recently in Russia, and they have the fireworks dancers. They have this team of devotees, and they can't do it outside of Russia because they can't bring the fireworks over the border, so you guys got to go to Russia. They dance with fireworks to a kirtan. It's incredible. They have fireworks coming out of their hat, fireworks coming out of their shoulders. They're twirling these bands of fireworks. Incredible. So how do I get you to go? I tell you about it, isn't it? And the prasadam there. And the kirtans, 3,000 devotees having a kirtan. 3,000 devotees. And the most incredible kirtan leaders are there. And sometimes, at least twice, the kirtans go on all night. If you know Sachi Devi, one night she leads the kirtans all night, she and some other kirtan leaders. And it's a beautiful place by the Azov Sea. This beautiful blue sea and expansive space, and we're in this place with flower gardens. So then you want to come, isn't it? Isn't that how I get you to come? So Mama Virya Samvido. Come home. What's Krishna doing there? It's exciting. He's having so many adventures. There's Rukmini who's saying, I'm going to be kidnapped. I'm going to be married to Shishupal. Come, save me. And the Brahmin comes and says, if you're going to do something, you better do it now. Krishna says, okay, let's go. He says, actually, I've always been thinking about her. We're always supposed to think about Krishna. Krishna's always thinking about his devotees. And Krishna gets on his chariot with Saibhya, Sugriva, Megapushpa, Balahaka, and they go 1,000 miles in one night. And Rukmini's thinking, are they going to come? 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 Do we ever think like that? We've done austerities, we're meditating on Krishna, and we think, is Krishna ever going to come? Is he ever going to come? Is he ever going to come? Is Krishna ever going to come? Do I have to be married to Shishupal? I have to stay in this world, be married to Shishupal? Is Krishna going to come? Is he going to come? Is he happy with me? Maybe he's not happy with me. Maybe he doesn't like my service. And then she thinks, maybe the demigods are displeased with me. Must be, I didn't really worship the demigods very well. I was just worshiping Krishna, and maybe they're unhappy. That Durga, she's called Girija. She's cold-hearted like a mountain. And probably her husband isn't happy with me either. Maybe Krishna's not going to come. Maybe he's not going to come. Oh, Krishna, 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 are you ever going to come? Are you ever going to save me? What am I going to do? The time is getting late. Do we ever think like that? Those of us who are old, we think like that. Time's getting late. My hair is turning gray. My face is starting to sag. Pretty soon I'm going to die. Is Krishna going to come? Is Krishna going to come? Right? She says, Krishna doesn't come. I'll do austerity. Life after life after life after life after life. And then she's looking. Oh, there's the Brahmana. So, going to do it again. Last night we had somebody with a phone that made frog noises. I was wondering if we were out in a pond. So we hear these wonderful stories about Krishna, how he's saving Rukmini, how finally the Brahmin messenger comes. She says, oh, you're going to give me Krishna. You're going to give me Krishna. And she offers her obeisances. She can't think of anything to offer. So the goddess of fortune offers obeisances. And then she knows Krishna's going to come. He hasn't come yet, but she knows he's going to come. Right? Shraddha, just faith. Krishna's going to come. And Rati, she's feeling more and more and more attraction. She hasn't come yet. And she's going to the temple. And as she's going to the temple, she's surrounded by her girlfriends. And she's offering flowers and food to Durga and her children. And she's just thinking, Krishna's going to come. I know he's going to come. I saw that Brahman. I know he's going to come. I know he's going to come. I haven't seen him yet. But I know he's going to come. I know he's going to come. And she's walking out of the temple. And as she's walking, she's thinking, I know he's going to come. I know he's going to come. And there's all these kings and princes of the world thinking, I'm going to capture her. And she thinks, no, they're not. Krishna's going to come. Krishna's going to come. And she starts looking at a ring on her left finger. And then she sort of sees, there's Krishna. There's Krishna. And there are all these princes. And they knew Shishupal was supposed to marry her. But they're thinking, maybe I'm going to marry her. Actually, it's explained they didn't really see Rukmini. They saw a shadow. Like Ravana just took a shadow. Sita. They just saw a shadow of Rukmini. And then Krishna very casually goes, come on. Just takes her very casually. Puts her on his chariot. Very slowly. Krishna didn't bring an army. You know, Balaram knew that there was going to be trouble, so he brought an army. Krishna didn't bring an army. Just came by himself. And there's all these... And it says that Shishupal and Dhamagosha's father, they knew there was probably going to be a fight. And so although apparently they came to a wedding, it's like they came for war. Can you imagine that? Like we're going to have weddings today, I think. Could you imagine if the wedding parties came with guns? Camouflage clothes. So, you know, King Bhishmaka, he's just noting that a lot of the bridegroom's party and the other kings, they're coming more for a war than for a wedding. But Krishna just casually, very slowly driving on his chariot. Now, these are the wonderful activities of Krishna. That's wonderful activities. Or he says, no, don't worship Indra. Why don't you just worship Govardhan Hill? Who worships a hill? And they say, sure, Krishna, whatever you want. They argued with him a little bit at first. They said, we'll do it later. He said, okay, we'll worship a hill. How funny. Others worshiping this hill. And then, of course, the hill shows that he's actually Krishna. He eats all the food. And they're not worried about Indra. They're not worried about Indra. I mean, we worry about ordinary materialistic governments. Imagine not worrying about the demigods. They weren't worried. But then Indra starts pouring rain. You know, there's a flood. Imagine there's a big flood. Everybody was shivering. And Krishna doesn't say, okay, I'll just dry up the water. I'll smash the clouds. I'll smash Indra. No, he says, let me lift up the mountain. That's how he deals with the rain. And there's this whole city under the mountain. And then when he puts it back, everything's fine. No flood damage. You don't have to file an insurance claim. Everything's again pure and pristine. So, Mama Virya Samvido, the great pastimes of Krishna. And someone who hears these pastimes, they give up this pavarga. They say, why am I struggling hard for my can of beer with watching the cricket game? My half an hour of sex, my 15 minutes of pizza. Why am I working 10, 12 hours for 1 hour of uncertain, temporary, limited pleasure. When I can have naturally, without the pavarga, unlimited pleasure. Instead of watching some fantasy movie about some illusory hero, why not enter into the pastimes of the real hero? Therefore, apavarga. As these topics of Krishna enter into the ear, they go into the heart. You know, in Astanga Yoga, they want to clear all of the pathways of the body. There's different levels of Astanga Yoga. The final level is, what's the final level of Astanga Yoga? Samadhi. So before you can reach Samadhi, Krishna also talks about attaining Samadhi through Bhakti Yoga. Before you can attain Samadhi, you have to be purified, because the life energy has to go through the body in a purified way. If it doesn't go through a purified body, it gets stuck and causes disease. So the purpose of the asanas and the purpose of the pranayam is to purify all of the channels of the body in nam and yam and niyam, to make everything very, very clean. Just like if you want to drive on a road, it's got to be clear. If there's a lot of traffic, you can't get through. Or people, they eat nasty food, they get blocked arteries, and the blood can't flow. And sometimes the blood vessel balloons, right? Sometimes it bursts and damages the brain or other parts of the body. So Astanga Yoga means to clear. Well, Bhakti Yoga also clears. And the main channel that we want to clear is from the ear to the heart. So this is filled up right now with so much rubbish. Instead of the activities of Krishna, we're very interested probably mostly in our own activities. What am I doing? What did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? What will I do tomorrow? What will I do next week? This is usually our main. What will I do? What will I do? Even in Krishna consciousness, we'll think, okay, what service should I do? Where should I live? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? I was counseling one devotee like this, and finally I said, Prabhu, you're always talking about what you should do. I never hear you talking about what Krishna should do, what Krishna's activities are, what you should do for Krishna. It's always, what about me? What about me? What about me? So our channel, our ear, our heart, our mind is all, what about me? What about me? What about me? Or what about my family, my friends, my society, my politicians, my sports team, my friends at work? It's all clogged with this. So you pour this rasayana into the ear of Krishna's heroic activities. And just like if you eat how many people here have eaten tree-ripened fresh fruit ever? Have anybody ever eaten tree-ripened fruit? Or veggies picked right from the garden? You ever eaten organic veggies right from the garden? Incredible, isn't it? It's almost painful to buy anything at a shop after that. You just like, it's not a real eggplant. You just don't want to buy it anymore. And the first time I had a tree-ripened peach, it was in New York. There's a devotee who worked in an orchard. And he said, okay, we've picked everything with the machines, but the machines can't get everything. There's stuff left on the trees. You can just go and get it for the temple. It was all tree-ripened fruit. And I remember on the way back, my son, who was maybe a year old or something, he really wanted to eat one of the peaches. So we offered one peach, and I gave it to him, and he didn't finish it, so I had like a little bit to eat. I went, wow, I never had a peach before in my life. A rasayana. So this Virya Samvito, these talks about Krishna, they act as a rasayana. That as soon as they enter into the ear and enter in the heart, you think, wow, I never actually had any pleasure before in my life. This is a real thing. Didn't you all have that experience? When you first contacted Krishna consciousness, you thought, what is this? It's categorically, qualitatively different from anything else one experiences. It's something, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said when he was eating prasadam. He said, everyone knows the ingredients, but still this taste has a quality that cannot be explained in terms of the ingredients. And in order to actually taste that rasayana, one must be in the association of devotees. So these books are full of this rasayana. And we have all respect for all of the genuine religious and spiritual traditions of the world. Many people ask, how do I decide what religious tradition to go to? But I'll say frankly that in most scriptures of the world, one will not find such a Rasayana. One finds some activities of the Lord, parting the Red Sea or giving the tablets or, making so many loaves of bread or something like that. But one will not find this depth of Rasayana. At least I've not seen. So this is the real cure. This is the real cure for people suffering. You give them a taste of the reality. Isn't it? You've got your friend out there crying. Now we're all sitting down and eating the feast. What do? You take a feast plate out to your friend, don't you? Isn't that what you do? Say, here, have a little taste. Or in some temples, they pipe the kirtans to the guest rooms, which is really a problem if you just flew from America and, you had 36 hours of travel and you went to bed at 2 in the morning. All of a sudden, 4:30, the Mangal Artik's going on in your room. But we almost lost our temple in Fiji by doing that. But you give people a little taste, right? Here's a little taste of the kirtan. And not only apavarga, not only will the person be free of their misery, but shradharatir bhakti anukramishati. They'll be positive. We're not interested just in negating the suffering. If somebody's sick, you don't want to get them just free of the sickness. You want them to be back into healthy life. So by hearing these activities of Krishna from the devotees, one develops some faith. There really is something beyond my little bit of temporary, sometimes a little bit satisfying pleasure in this world. There really is something more than that. Everything I'm wanting actually exists. You get a little faith. And then as you keep on hearing, you get actually attraction, rati. This rati attraction. Rati, of course, is the wife of? Who's Rati's husband? Pradyumna. Yes, Rati is the wife of Pradyumna or Cupid. So just like one has attraction, as the Goswamis say, just like there's attraction between men and women in this world, one gets that kind of natural, spontaneous attraction to Krishna. One starts being not just theoretical, as Prabhupada's saying here, it sounds nice. One starts being attracted, and then one starts developing real devotion. So this is the real key for everyone's problems. It's a fact that there are also some temporary necessary cure for problems. If someone cuts their finger, you give them a bandage. If someone has no clothes, you give them some clothes. But that's not the ultimate cure. That's not the ultimate cure. So just like we are compassionate upon an ordinary person if they break their leg or their son is missing or whatever, what to speak of having compassion for the actual suffering. Therefore, we who are followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are very eager to help the persons of the world. In fact, even if we're just selfish, even if we really don't care at all about anybody else's suffering, even if we want to enter into the transcendental world, we need to accept the mood of the Lord. And the mood of the Lord is one of compassion. The personification of Krishna's compassion is? Who's the personification of Krishna's quality of compassion? She's right there. Srimati Radharani. And when the Lord takes the mood of Radharani, He gets in this mood of compassion. So even if we want to, even if all we're thinking about is ourselves, and I want to enter into Krishna's Leela, go back to home, back to Godhead, still I have to take up this mood of compassion. So of course we have so many ways that we're telling people about Krishna's heroic activities, so many ways we're pouring this rasayana into the hearts of people. We have, Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is not narrow or stereotyped. We have so many ways of sharing Krishna consciousness with others. But of course one of our most effective ways is through the distribution of these literatures. The literatures are the incarnation of Krishna. And a person can sit down with them and deeply enter into the heroic activities of the Lord, and they get Srila Prabhupada's personal association. And we find basically this Krishna consciousness movement has spread all over the world to a large extent because of book distribution. I mean, certainly also because of our Harinam parties, because of our prasadam distribution, because of our wonderful temple worship, because of our lectures we give to the public, so many ways. But certainly book distribution has been one of the key ways. And through book distribution, many, many people, even if they're far away from a temple, they become attracted. And they give up this pravarga and start drinking the rasayana of Krishna's activities. So any way at all that we can be contributing to sharing Krishna consciousness with people in general, with the other devotees, with ourselves, we also need to drink this rasayana. So that way we'll enter into the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by entering into the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we can actually be one of their associates. You cannot be the associate of someone unless you have a similar mood. There has to be some similarity of mood. So thank you very much. Questions, comments, additions, subtractions?